For Chapter 2, Section 1, we're talking about inductive reasoning. And remember, we're looking for patterns and see if we can see the pattern, how it continues. So we're given, I forgot to write one more number here. We're given that number there, those set of numbers, numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8. And we're supposed to find the 12th number. So let's figure out how many they've given us already. And so this is the first one, second one, third number, fourth number, fifth, sixth. So we need to get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We need to get the 12th one. So we're going to have to get some more numbers here. So the first thing I always do whenever I have a pattern of numbers, I try to see what they jump by. What could I add to the first number? What could I subtract to the first number to get to the second number? That's basically what I'm looking at. And so let's do that. And so let's see here. When I go from the number 1 to the number 1, if I'm adding or subtracting, it's 0. When I go from the number 1 to the number 2, well, that's 1 higher. So let's try adding and see what happens. When you go from 2 to 3, it's also adding 1. And when you go from 3 to 5, it's adding 2. And when you go from 5 to 8, you're adding 3. So it kind of looks like we might have a pattern. It's not an obvious pattern. It's kind of a tricky one. So let's see here. Well, I didn't really have anything to start here. What I did have here is, it seems like after, it doesn't really seem to have a pattern. So I'm kind of stumped here. What should I do? So I'm going to go back and think of it a different way. This is a kind of a tricky one. There's some easier ones that you'll do in the homework, but this is kind of a tricky one. What I notice, there's another pattern I noticed, that if I take, and this is interesting because it's not a traditional one that people see a lot of. If I take 1 and 1, I get 2. If I take 1 and 2, I get 3. If I take 2 and 3, I get 5. If I take 3 and 5, I get 8. So for the 7th pattern, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to add 5 and 8. So add these two, and that gives me 13. So I'm going to put the 8 from here down here to help us. Okay? There's my 8. So now let's continue. If I continue that pattern, 8 plus 13 is 21. 13 plus 21 is 34. Let's erase that and make that nicer. Okay. If I add 21 and 34, it looks like it's 55. 55 and 38 is 89. 89 and 55 looks like 144. I'm going to put the 55 here to double check. That's a 14. Carry the 1. Yep. So that's the answer there. So we now know the answer. In the 12th position, it's 144.